Hello and welcome to another video. Um, yeah, today's gonna be a little bit different. I originally was gonna just do this in my usual way that I usually make my more talky, rambly videos, is that I'm just gonna do it off the cuff and I'm not gonna have anything prepared. But I've actually been writing a script over the last couple days, and so this is gonna be scripted, which is a little bit scary because I'm not used to that. But we'll see how it turns out. I'm sure I'm gonna do all right. But yeah, welcome. I'm gonna be doing my makeup at the same time I'm talking about this and I'm doing this video. I have everything laid out, and if you have any questions about the products I'm using, then just go ahead and ask that. As well, if you have any comments about what I'm actually speaking about, then feel free to leave that here. But yeah, this is the first of what I would say is a little bit more about me and a little bit about more my speaking and how I hopefully will be making some more videos in the future, because I like this format and I think it's fun. So yeah, I just say we dive in. I'm gonna be putting on some skincare real quick though, and then I'll just get started. I'm going to do some pride related stuff, of course, for this video because it is entirely pride related. So basically I'm just going to be dual siding the two flags of the two things I'm going to be talking about. But yeah, let's just dive right in, and hopefully this will not be as big of a dumpster fire as it could be. But we'll see. Hopefully this will go alright. We'll just see. But yeah, let's just dive right in. So, you guys know me as Hannah, or the Unicorn Reacts, whichever you do, here on YouTube. And one thing I've always tried to be, and I hope it's showed off in my recordings, is that I've always tried to be very honest, very open, and very transparent about who I am and what I stand for. One thing I've noticed that I've always been a little bit more silent about is not only my sexuality but also my gender, which to a lot of people is, private matters, and you should always respect that. But to me, as someone who likes talking about myself, I was questioning why I hadn't really done that yet. And I think to a lot of you, I might seem pretty confident on YouTube. I'm very loud, I'm very open about, a lot of things. But I think always deep within, I have been really self-conscious about it, and I've never wanted to be judged for who I am, which through my YouTube journey I've seen is really common, sadly. And I never wanted that to be something that I had to go through. Now, to most people who ask, I tell them I'm pansexual because, in my old set, I had my flag, and I think it was always pretty transparent in how I talked about just people in general. But I'm pansexual, and to anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically, to me, it's that I can fall in love and I can be attracted to anyone regardless of their gender identity, and I don't have a preference regarding it. So I don't have a one I usually prefer or one that I'm strictly set to. So that's how I identified personally, and yeah. But my gender is something that I realized as I watched through my videos. Is something I don't really address. I remember once I was rewatching one as I was editing it, and I realized that I'd called myself dude, which, it's not something, I know a lot of people use it in a more just genderless way. It's not become as gendered as it is, but I've also called myself a guy, and all of that. I've called myself a girl, a lot of different terms, and I guess that, like, it's come across a lot that gender expression and, like, all that just has never really been as important to me. Like, it's never been a big part of my life. I've never felt like I had to, at least recently, I never had to prove myself, like, who I am and my identity, and, you know, I think that's important. This all is leading up, of course, to me saying that I'm gender fluid. You could see in the title, of course, because I'm putting it there, and also, you know, I think a lot of you were expecting it. Some of you follow me on Twitter, where I've already come out previously. But I feel like it would be cool to talk about on, you know, my main platform where I have the most reach, and, you know, I can be a lot more specific, and I can tell you more about my stories, and, you know, I don't have a character limit, so I think it would be interesting to talk about it here. So, yeah, I realized I was gender fluid pretty recently, like, I would say in the last couple of, like, months, which, like, couple months means, like, 2 or 3, basically, because it was right around, like, graduation, I would say, where I was like, yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. I've been tiptoeing around it for such a long time, and I think it was just because I was honestly scared about what people would say and how people would think of me after it. But now I feel more confident, and I want to share my story and how things have progressed and how I feel about myself, and hope that it can help some of you who might be going through it too. Anyone new who comes here just because of this video, which I don't know, maybe that might happen, or anything like that. So yeah, I would like to talk about it a little more. I have 2 sections we're going to go through. So yeah, I'm going to finish off my base a little bit more, and I'm going to be starting the eyes on the 2 sections. So yeah, let's just dive right in. So, I was about 14 when I found out I was pansexual, and I spent a lot of time on the internet when I was growing up, just due to a fear, I think, of human interaction. I was always scared of disappointing people, and I was always scared of, like, losing friends, I think, just in general, and so a lot of time was spent on the internet and, like, finding people who I thought were like me, and I thought had, you know, some more interest in me and all of those kind of things, and, you know, it was a place where I could feel safe, and where I didn't have to feel like I was different, because I always felt different as a child, due to a lot of different reasons, but I think a very big one was due to my unfound sexuality at the time. And the first crush, and we're gonna get into this story, it's a little bit awkward, I'm sure, and especially if the person I'm talking about it finds out, but I don't think so. We'll just have to see how this goes. But the first crush I ever had was a girl I had met when I was 11, and she was a year older, she was a year younger than me at the time, and she had just moved to my little small hometown from a different country, and so I instantly bonded with her, and I don't know why. I think it was just because we were similar ages, and I thought she was pretty, but I would never admit that. I would have never admit that at that age. And, you know, I feel like we had a connection. So even if a lot of our you know, a lot of our conversations were kind of awkward due to the language difference and like the cultural difference and all that. You know, I still really had a lot of fun with her, and you know, we just went along with it. And one thing I remember really well about that was we used to play house. And if any of you have not heard of that, I would feel so old. But basically, you know, you role play as a family, right? That is the main objective of house, I guess you could say. And this comes into what I'm talking about later too, of course. But when we were deciding what to do, I was just like, oh, I'm probably like gonna be a kid or something. Like, she would never want to like actually pretend to be like married to me or like have a kid with me, because like, you know, why would she do that? Like, you know, that's gay. But you know, I didn't think like that way. I didn't think that like that when I was little. But she was like, yeah, I'm gonna be the mom, so you be the dad. And I was like a little shocked for a second. I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll go along with it. And then we played like that for a couple of times. We had a lot of fun. We just like chilled basically, and it was a very nice time, especially for a youngster like me. But then one day, we were playing, and I remember this day specifically because she was pretending to like go to work and do a bunch of stuff, and no, it was the other way around. I was pretending to go to work and like do all that because like that's, you know, that's the man's thing. But then when I came home on that pretend play, she wanted to kiss me. And I was really, really shocked. I was really nervous. I was like, wait, is she actually being for real? Because, like, for a moment, I didn't even really think that she was actually asking me that. I thought it was just because, you know, why not? But we did. And I'm not going to describe it too well because, like, I was literally underage and, like, it's my story to think about. You don't have to know about that. But, yeah. So we kissed a bunch of times, and I really liked it. I was like, whoa, so this is what it's like? And I had very, like, small moments before this about, like, actual affection with any gender. And so I was just like, yeah, this must mean I like girls. Like, why wouldn't it be that way? And so that happened. And I was like really, how should I say? I think when that happened, I didn't really think about the fact that, like, hey, she probably didn't really like me. You know, I'll never find out because, like, we have no connection anymore, and I don't even know if she lives in my hometown anymore, you know. But I was really pushy about it because, like, I knew that I liked her, and I never made that clear. And so it was just like, I think she might have thought of it like I was using her, which I never wanted that to be the case. But it just turned out like that, sadly. And so, yeah, we kind of lost contact over the years. It's a little bit sad to think about now, but there's nothing I could do with it, you know? Like, it's just how things turn out to be. But then, after that, a couple years after that, of course, I found myself on a lovely website. You guys probably know about it. I found myself on Tumblr. And Tumblr in the early ages, like around 2016, 17, was a cesspool of a lot of weird things, but also really helpful things for someone who was going through something like that, where you were really confused about who you were. And I found the label lesbian on there. And like I talked about, that's not who I am. I don't identify with that. But it made a lot of sense to me because, I'd only known that far that I liked non-men. I found my attraction to girls only at the time because I didn't even know anyone who identified as non-binary or any other gender identity like that. So I was just like, yeah, I must be a lesbian. That makes sense. And I think this is very different from a lot of like AFAB. Yeah, that's right. A lot of AFAB queer people who find I found my attraction to men later on, and like I don't think that's very common. I don't really know. But after that, I found myself to the pansexual label, and again, it was also on Tumblr, which is kind of funny. But it just made sense. It made a lot of sense to me because, why wouldn't it? It was just like, yeah, I seem to like every single gender, and a lot of it tends to be about personality, and even though I find the people attractive, like physically, it's just never been that gender specific. So yeah, I just settled with that, I guess you could say, and that's what I ended up with, and I'm very happy about it. I really enjoy this label. I feel very free with it, and I, every time I meet someone who's pansexual, there's this like little bond that just, I think makes up for it. Like my first ever relationship with someone who was also pansexual, because like I feel like it's not that common, but it's common enough that I've been able to meet some people who identify with it as well over the years. But yeah, I went a little over there, but basically what I was leading up to say was that I just never had a thing for gender specifically, and that's what we're leading up to the next part. So yeah, we shall dive into the next bit. Let's just go. So the next section is kind of going to be about what I mainly wanted to focus on today. And I just want to say beforehand, before I start doing this makeup, that I've never tried to even paint this flag. So if I get it completely wrong, I am so sorry. That is not the idea. But yeah, we're going to do the other flag on this side. So yeah, let's just go ahead. So to a lot of people who have never gone through this sort of thing and never really questioned their identity, this is going to be a lot more jumbled and a lot more maybe confusing, but hopefully, at least to myself, it's going to make more sense, and I hope it will to you, at least to some degree. But yeah, ever since I was very little, I never understood our sense of gender, especially where we live, or at least, where I live, in more Western culture, where gender is inherently tied to the sex you were born as. Like, that's what qualifies, that's what it becomes, and, if you try to go away from that, if you don't want that to be your life, then, a lot of people don't see that as valid. They don't see that as something that can genuinely exist, and it's very sad, and that you have to be that way, I know that some people who even I live around feel it that way, and it's sad, I think, like, because I never agreed with it, ever since I was little. I never understood how, things like clothes and, your hobbies and even emotions, like, you guys probably are aware of how much, like, more, like, expressive emotion is tied to femininity, which to me never ever made sense. And yeah, so as I grew up, it just stuck that way, and I was always very accepting towards people who were trans, were not part of that. I always felt like, it made sense. You could be whoever you wanted to be, and if anyone ever made fun of you for it, or anyone ever questioned you about that, that was their own fault. That was their own problem, because, they would never understand that kind of life. And I just thought I was an ally. And, through my whole life, I was always considered a girl, I dressed very girly to a lot of people, and I behaved very girly. And so, to me, it just kind of became the normality for me. I never thought that I could, want any different. And so that's just how it kind of stuck around, and that's why I never really thought to think about it until pretty recently. But, of course, even though I was called girly, I was called a girl, all of that, I never really truly felt like one. I just always felt like myself. I just felt like Hannah. And, it was easier to just go along with those terms than try to address them and try to correct people on it, because, that would just lead to a lot of questions and a lot of, discussion and being like, hey, I don't really agree with who you are, which is really, really weird, first of all. But I didn't want that to happen, and so I just kind of stuck along with it. And I'm sure a lot of other people who are non-binary and on the non-binary spectrum, I'm sure that's how they felt. You know what, I guess that's just how it's supposed to be, because, I'm not binary trans, so, what am I supposed to do? And I think that's pretty common, honestly. But, as I grew up a little bit more, I'm talking, my early, teenage years, I started to integrate. I started to try to be that person. I tried to be as girly as I could, and I tried to fit up to that standard, because, again, it was easier than not, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to deal with it, and that's how it just was. I was just kind of going along with it because other people saw me that way, and so it was easier. But as I started to come to, I guess, realization a little bit more, and I met a lot of people who were, parts of the different gender, trans, non-binary community, I started to be like, okay, maybe this will work for me. Maybe this is something that I could actually, do, because I didn't think it was actually something that I could until I moved to where I currently live, the much bigger place that has a lot more different people. And so I started to open up to that and be like, hey, maybe this is what I want. Maybe this is what, this is all leading up to. Maybe this fits me a lot better. And then slowly and slowly, I started to open up to it. And now, as I've officially, said it in my own head, and I'm thinking about, coming out to a lot more people and talking about it to a lot more people, it's starting to feel more real, and it is incredibly freeing. It is one of the best experiences that I've gone through in a long time so far. It's just, really, really nice to be able to say and, feel confident in my own skin. And I have a little bit of, questions I will answer for you already. If you have any more, of course, please answer. But a lot of people probably might be wondering, why specifically gender fluid? Why not something else, like on the other any other non-binary sort of labels? And to me, gender fluid is a lot more, I guess, open, and it allows for a lot more space, I guess you could say, because I know people who identify as non-binary, and a lot of that is that they are expected to be a lot more androgynous and like genderless in a way, where you can tell that that's not me, that's not my kind of deal, that's not, how I look and how I act. A lot of people see me as a girl, and I think that will be the case for a long time, and it's not something I can really control, which is sad, but, it gives me a little bit of freedom that at least, like, people would be like, oh, you're gender fluid, so, like, you're not set in one gender identity. That's basically why I personally like it. And I'm sure a lot of you are also maybe wondering, like, does this make you trans? Like, how do you feel about that? And I'm sure a lot of you who maybe are yourselves might be like, yeah, I think you might be, but to me, I never felt really that comfortable in maybe identifying in that, because I'm confident in my own body. I don't feel the need to change anything about it, and, I'll probably still dress, I will still act, I'll still do what, I love, which is very feminine things to a lot of people. And so, like, even though some people would probably say that I am, because nobody's technically born gender fluid, right? I probably never will feel comfortable in it, because so many people actually, struggle with it. And so, I don't know, maybe one day, but right now it's just like, I'm happy where I am right now, and that's all that matters. Now, one more thing I'm sure some of you might wonder as well, especially some of my followers and also, my friends who watch me of any capacity, is you probably might be thinking, do I need to change any way about how I address you? Like, do I have to change my language and all that? And sure, you could. You could use other terms for me, other pronouns. I've always been very open about using any pronouns, and I have for quite a bit. But especially now, I'm sure it would make me, very happy, and it would definitely validate me. But genuinely, this is just mostly for me. And so if you don't feel like you want to change anything about how you dress me, then sure, just go right ahead. It's not going to, make me mad. This is just all mostly for myself and how it's going to make me comfortable. But yeah, if you don't want to, it's okay. If you want to, that's fine too. So yeah, that is basically all I had to say. I'm going to finish up my makeup, and we'll do the outro after this. So yeah. Alright, I'm done with my look. We have both of the pansexual and the the gender fluid flag right on my eyes. I really like how it turned out, actually. It didn't, turn out that much, different, and it doesn't really feel like they don't suit each other. I'm gonna bring you just a little bit closer so you can see it. So, this is the look. I hope it looks nice in this lighting, but I hope it does. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun filming it, a lot of fun with the script. I usually don't, do this, but if it is liked, then I definitely want to continue because I think it's fun. But yeah, hopefully this wasn't too rambly. I think it still turned out to be a little bit that way, but what can you do when it's about me? But yeah, this was just to give a little bit of insight about how I've experienced things and how, you know, things have turned out for me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm going to continue to film some of my normal content, and we'll see how long this video will be. It's probably going to be a lot longer than I think it's going to be, so we'll have to see about that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. We'll see when this video is uploaded, probably in a couple of days, because it's going to take a while to edit. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Take care. Have a great day. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.